The body has been found, the poison identified, and every suspect in this village is hiding something dark. Welcome to Unsolved Mystery Vault. I'm your moderator, Falcon. In Episode 1, Miss Marple predicted Dorothea Hartwell's death, and 4 days later, someone proved her terrifyingly right. Where are you tuning in from today? Let me know in the comments.
Episode 2. The Inspector's Suspects.
The post-mortem report arrived on Monday and changed everything Inspector Marsh had been prepared to accept. Dorothea Hartwell had not died of heart failure. She had been poisoned. A concentrated preparation of digitalis glycoside introduced almost certainly through the cup of evening chamomile tea she took alone in the library each night at 9:30. The preparation was sophisticated enough that it required knowledge, either medical knowledge or the kind of detailed patient research that suggested premeditation. Marsh set up his operations in the village hall, which smelled of old bunting and the memory of bake sales, and worked through his list. Dr. Aubrey Blunt was questioned first. He sat very straight, with the careful composure of a man who had decided exactly what he would and would not say. He had been Mrs. Hartwell's physician for 14 years. He had been, he admitted after a pause, fond of her. He had dined at the Manor on Wednesday evening, 2 days before her death, and had left, he said, at approximately 9 o'clock. He had not gone near the library. He had seen no one else in the house. "What was the nature of your relationship with Mrs. Hartwell?" Marsh asked. "She was my patient," said Blunt, "and a friend." Marsh noted the order. He also noted that Blunt had not asked, as every other person that morning had asked, whether Dorothea had suffered. Neville Croft was nervous, in the way that amiable young men become when they suddenly realize that charm does not serve as currency with police inspectors. He twisted his signet ring and explained that he had been in London on Thursday and Friday. He had friends in Kensington who could confirm this, and had returned only Saturday morning to find the house already invaded by constables. He stood to inherit substantially from his aunt's estate, which he disclosed with the transparent honesty of a man who knows it will be discovered regardless. "Did you and your aunt argue recently?" Marsh asked. Neville stopped twisting the ring. "We occasionally disagreed," he said carefully. "About what?" "Money," he said. Then, with a smile that did not quite fit, "It's usually money, isn't it?" Mrs. Sylvia Price was precise and contained and unhelpful in the manner of someone who has spent years being precise and contained. She had been at home Thursday and Friday evenings, she said. Her husband could confirm it. She had not visited the Manor in the past week. She had no idea who might wish Dorothea Hartwell harm. She said this last sentence with such particular neutrality that it communicated the opposite with perfect clarity. Cecily Vane was the last to be formally questioned, though Marsh had been watching her since his arrival. She worked daily at the Manor, had full access to every room, including the library, and had prepared Mrs. Hartwell's schedule, including, as it happened, the evening chamomile tea. She had not prepared Thursday's tea. That was Mrs. Fenn's task, but she had been in the house until 7. "Did Mrs. Hartwell seem troubled recently?" Marsh asked. Cecily hesitated for exactly 1 beat too long. "She'd been a little preoccupied." "About what?" "I don't know," she said, and something in her voice suggested she knew very well. Miss Marple had observed all of this from the back of the village hall, where she had been permitted to sit. Inspector Marsh had a grandmother he was fond of, and Miss Marple reminded him of her, knitting what appeared to be a very long blue scarf. When the formal interviews were done, and the inspector came to her with the slightly reluctant expression of a man who knows more than he wants to admit that he needs help, she set down her needles. "I told Mrs. Hartwell she was in danger," Miss Marple said. "I told Miss Vane. I should have been more direct." "You think this was premeditated," said Marsh. "Entirely. The digitalis preparation takes planning. The choice of chamomile tea takes knowledge of her habits. Whoever did this had intimate access to this household, not just to the manner, but to the pattern of her life. That narrows it considerably." "To people who were at the garden party?" said Marsh. "Possibly. But I noticed something at the garden party that I think matters very much." Miss Marple picked up her needles again. "When young Mr. Croft spoke to his aunt near the sundial, the brief exchange that frightened her, he was holding a glass in his left hand and smiling that very practiced smile of his, but his right hand was at his side, and he was gripping his trousers rather hard." Marsh frowned. "He was nervous." "He was terrified," said Miss Marple. "The question is whether it was because he was about to do something, or because he had just realized that someone else already had." She stared at her. "You think he knew?" "I think," said Miss Marple, "that more than one person in this village knew Dorothea Hartwell was going to die, and not all of them are suspects." She paused and glanced toward the door through which Cecily Vane had left 10 minutes before. The girl had walked with her head down, her arms folded across herself, and had not looked back. People who had nothing to hide, Miss Marple had long since observed, generally did not walk as though they were protecting something. "The letter," she added quietly. "The one Mrs. Hartwell burned in the library grate. I should very much like to know who wrote it." That afternoon, Inspector Marsh requested a full examination of the library grate. Among the ash, his team found a fragment no larger than a visiting card, partially burned but legible. On it were 6 words in a careful, upright hand. "I know what you did. Pay." The blackmail letter changed everything. But who was the blackmailer? And what had Dorothea Hartwell done?